Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Tee to Green Golf Podcast. We know that we are in the year of growing the game, evidenced by comments made by the United States Golf Association's president and commissioner over the last few years. Growing the game is an all-encompassing term. One area that we've seen that prominence, if you will, or at least brighter lights, is in the HBCU golf community. And for those of you that are unfamiliar, HBCU stands for Historically Black Colleges and Universities. We're going to delve into that today and then for a few weeks forward. But today, we're excited to have with us the head golf coach of Florida A&M University, Mike Rice. Coach, welcome to the Tee to Green Golf Podcast. We're excited to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk about, like you said, growing the game and changing the way it looks.
For many of us, I should say some of us, we understand the HBCUs that span at least through half of the country. I think we probably can say from Oklahoma East. Florida A&M forever and a day has been a brand name that's resonated in that group of higher institutions. And now you're leading the men's golf program there, or the golf program. How long have you been affiliated with golf? And talk to us a little bit about FAMU.
So I've been around golf really my whole life. My dad introduced me when I was 8 years old. My parents didn't really have the money to invest in me as a player. I grew up at, the local municipal golf course. Really from 8, it was one of those where I played golf, every once in a while with my dad and my little brother, and really never got better. I went into high school. I was the same player my freshman year as I was my senior year. Ended up getting a job at a golf course and working, and worked on my game and worked hard and got better and better, and had the opportunity to play golf at a HBCU. Had a friend at a golf course and introduced me to the coach, and went to North Carolina at St. Augustine's College for a year. Played a year there, and then, wanted to get back to Florida, originally, growing up in Orlando. So I ended up transferring to FAMU and playing 3 years at FAMU. And so I've been around the program for a long time. When I graduated, I went to work at one of the local courses here in Tallahassee, which is really in the FAMU community, and loved that. Did that for 10 years and had an opportunity to come back to give back to the university. So was an assistant coach here for about 7 years and going into my 7th year as head coach. So, yeah.
So congratulations, because in many ways, this is a full circle moment for you, having grown up in Florida, having FAMU giving you the opportunity to play a sport that you really had come to love since a child. And now that you're sewing back into young men, I believe, as the head men's golf coach there at FAM. Can you talk to us about the culture of FAMU golf? What is it that you're bringing to these student athletes and making the program as attractive as it is?
Well, one of them, we're probably the most diverse team probably in the country. We have a little everything here. I believe in recruiting. I'm trying to recruit kids that look like the kids on campus. I believe that's the right way to do it. I believe that's, I was fortunate to be able to come to FAMU and play, and I'm forever grateful for it. But culturally, I'm probably a little different than most people look like me. But I'm trying to bring in, again, match what the university is, the demographics, and if you look, team's very diverse, and they're really close. We've had some success, which is nice. But like you said, we want to be diverse in our team and really in the culture of FAMU golf.
And I think that's important and impressive, because certainly for your student athletes, this is just a moment in their life's journey. And what we do know is that life kind of broadens and expands once all of us leaves an institute of higher education. I know that in speaking with, Coach Smoot, and I know that you've got a good relationship with him, his philosophy, it sounds like mirrors yours. And so I tip my hat to both of you all for making better student athletes out of these children when they enter into your programs. Coach, you just talked a little bit about recruiting. You talked about recruiting students who happen to be golfers that ultimately resemble the broader student body at FAMU. But when you think specifically about playing characteristics and these individuals as golfers over the next 3 to 4 years, what is an ideal FAMU golfer look like? What characteristics stand out? What do you look for?
I mean, a lot of these young guys, we get the resumes and, a lot of them are saying the same thing over and over. I think a lot of them think that the golf part is the it part, being talented, but it's really not. We're looking at way more than that. We want somebody who has talent that can play golf, but we need somebody that does well in the classroom. That's number one. That's a requirement, and then we want good teammates, right? Guys that are going to play for each other, that are going to be good teammates. If you're not in the lineup, look, you need to be cheering your teammates on, and don't be upset because they beat you. At the end of the day, we compete, but at the end, we're one team, and we're going to succeed or not succeed as a team. So a lot of emphasis on that, and what we try to bring to these young guys is look, we of course would love these guys to play at a high level, no question, to go beyond FAMU. But realistically, what are the chances of that? The last black HBCU golfer to be on tour is Adrian Stills, and a lot of people don't even know who Adrian Stills is. And I know him growing up. He played in the golf course where I was at in Orlando, and so that's 40 years ago or 30, whatever it is. It's a long time. So we got to make sure we're preparing them in the classroom, but we want to give them an experience that they'll never forget. I mean, we're trying to create life memories for these young guys, and and look, we get to do some things that a lot of people, a lot of college students don't get to do, and right. So we try to create those and obviously enjoy the journey while they're here, because those 4 or 5 years go fast.
Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. And so for the Tee to Green Golf podcast community, we're going to continue on with this episode, but you all know I like to put thumbtacks or paper clips in episodes, and Coach has already said that, listen, the resume is one thing, but your character, your commitment to academics, and then your commitment to the grind of excellence as a golfer is something else that he looks for and really resonates as a candidate for Florida A&M University golf program or golf student athlete. So something just to make note of as we go through this episode. Coach, we've talked about growing the game, and for the last, let's say, 3.5 years right now, certainly since COVID, we know that the game went through kind of a perilous period, and as Mike Wan has mentioned at least 2 times that I've heard him, that the survival of the game really was around women into the game and then communities of color into the game. As we continue to see this evolution and as it continues to expand, what are you seeing in the HBCU golf community? How have those programs increased their profile? Maybe not just in brand, but in competition.
I mean, that's a good question. And I think you're absolutely correct. It's been the last 3.5 years that we have a lot of organizations out there that are really working to make a change. And I can say, being a coach on this side in the HBCU world, people have been talking about it for 10 or 15 years, but there really was nothing behind it. It was just talk. Let's check a box, right? as long as we check the box, we're okay. But I don't think it's that way right now. As you said, the USGA has put money behind, trying to grow it. They've reached out to presidents of our university so that they know what's going on. I think that was huge, to get them involved so they understand. And, the PGA Tour is doing an amazing job with Kenyatta Ramsey, who's, doing a great job of growing these young guys. And again, they're putting money into it. And
right.
So there are a lot of people behind the scenes. You got Jeff Champ, who's growing, his junior program, which is unreal. If you're an HBCU coach, if you're not at that tournament, something's wrong with you, because he is finding the best talent, best young talent in the country, and you can go one place and watch them play. And I can tell you, I'm recruiting heavily from his tournament. So there are a lot of people that really are putting effort into making sure that change, because it needs to change. It can't look like me. Right. And we need. There's some junior programs out there as well that are building. The First Tee, we know, has been around forever, but we have other ones now too that are coming up. And again, I think it's going to change. It's going to take time. We talk about it. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. But there is an emphasis, and there are people where even the club now, Titleist is involved, and TaylorMade and Bridgestone, they're even involved with the HBCUs to help out, because at the end of the day, we don't have big budgets.
Right.
And if we don't, we can't play at a high level if we're not playing on the same level of ground. So, again, there's a lot of companies out there doing a great job, a lot of organizations and companies that are putting their money where their mouth is.
Coach, I'm going to kind of skip ahead, and you just said something that for me and this podcast, it is important for me to help listeners understand, how can we support the programs that we're looking to connect with. And as you just talked about the PGA's investment, as you just talked about Titleist, TaylorMade, their investment, Bridgestone, we see Tiger right behind you there. How can those of us who have attended HBCUs, maybe those of us who did not attend HBCUs, but certainly in one way or another support the essence and the purpose of HBCUs, those of us that are in the professional sector that directly or indirectly have a connection to HBCUs and what they stand for, how can we help continue to raise the profile, celebrate the programs, and engage the kids, ultimately, which I think will continue to elevate the profile of the HBCUs and the golf programs? How can we do that?
That's another great question. We're, and I'll talk on all athletics, not just golf. There's a big focus on fundraising because, our athletic programs don't have enough money. And if you don't have the resources, you're not playing on the same level, right? That's just the truth. You can't, money makes stuff work, man. And that being said, it really is about giving back. One of the things I tell my guys when they first get here is, remember your time. But when you get to that point where you can give back, make sure you give back, because at the end of the day, that's how we keep this thing going. Again, supporting with money, it'd be great too. Outside this, we have tournaments all over the country, HBCUs. It'd be great to see alumni out there supporting and watching our guys, because you don't see a lot of it. I can tell you that. We got families and, moms and dads and brothers and uncles that come out, but it'd be great to have alumni out there to really support the athletes. But the big is just, it's the money. It's the money to, so that we can travel, so we can, give them an experience to have, it's a technology era. These kids are growing up on technology, and look, if you don't have it, you're behind.
Right.
You don't have a TrackMan or some kind of device, look, you're behind these PWIs, because all of them have it. And, having the The facilities, look, we have a hard time, and we're farther along than some of these other HBCUs. I talked to some of them; they don't have golf courses to play. I mean, PWIs don't work. They have a place to go all the time. But we have universities that don't have a practice facility. They don't have a place to. They're running around. They're paying regular green fees like somebody off the street, which is crazy to me that you wouldn't support. University golf team. So, I mean, it really is resources. It's facilities. It's having the money to make sure that we're getting the things that these young guys need.
And so my appeal, as is the case for most of the episodes, is to the listeners that we make note, simple Google search to identify HBCUs, an additional Google search to find HBCU programs that have golf teams. And as Coach said, there are tournaments where kids, these student athletes, are playing all across the U.S. And let's try and do our part. For many of us, we're in the corporate sector, and most organizations have a matching philanthropy program where if you dedicate some of your money, they'll match that money. And I would just ask that you consider that as well. I find it interesting that we do have schools that don't have a course to play at. That is an evolution of not having resources in a very different way. But I think if there's a way that we can all help, Coach talked about TrackMan, and then just general support and fundraising. And so, again, let's do our part. Certainly know that many of us have commitments, but we're trying to grow the game for many of us that are passionate about it as well.
And I didn't say this, but this again, we're scholarships is another issue. A lot of these universities, golf is allowed 4.5. That's maximum. I mean, there's some of these universities don't have any. I mean, they don't have a single. These kids are playing golf because they want to play golf, but the scholarship isn't there to offset the cost. Luckily, you have academic scholarships out there, but a lot of universities they need scholarship money for these young people, and again, that's a great way to give that goes a long ways.
That's good stuff, Coach. Thank you. When you think about the growing the game, and I think you really made a profound point, but I'm going to ask the question nonetheless, that we see a lot of these communities, whether it's the First Tee or programs that are kind of parallel to the First Tee. And then we talked about Jeff Champ's Invitational, which I believe is in Texas. Is that right?
Correct, in Houston.
Yep. Which is in Houston. For those individuals who are not affiliated with any, but at some point are coming into the game, what would be your advice to them as they begin playing? How best to go refine aspects of their game that really just become kind of this continuum to them being good?
Look, it's, I believe personally that you grow up, around the green first. Everybody wants to go on the driving range and beat that driver, and that's fun. But that's not what makes you great, right? Anybody who's been around the game long enough knows that it's all around. It's the short game is what will get you to the next level or however far you want to go. And like you said, there's some great junior programs out there now that are really, they're trying to help grow the game. And, starting at the First Tee is not a bad place to go, right? I mean, You're around, young people, around people like you, it allows you to have a little more fun than being out there all by yourself grinding. So, but I really, the big is, starting them around the green, starting them practice. Don't just throw them out on the golf course, because you see that a lot too, and that will discourage kids for sure. Mm-hmm. We already, trying to introduce these young kids to golf is sometimes hard. It's a slow sport compared to basketball, football, or so again, if you can get them in a and I call it a team atmosphere, which is really kind of like what the first tee is because you're around. I think they have more fun that way, instead of trying to throw them out there 5, 6 years old and their attention span's just not there. And, and it's not fast enough and we're not running and jumping and, that's what they want to do at 5 or 6. But you get them around kids who are out there having a lot of fun, right? It's not, you can add golf to it, but they're still being kids. But the big, I think, is really, if you can start them in the short game part of golf, I think they go farther along than if you're just going to go out there and beat balls. Of course, that's what they want to do. My guys still do too, so.
And is it safe to say that most metropolitan areas or sizable cities now have a first tee program or some type of junior program?
Yeah, I was going to say any big size city most definitely has at least one. Some of them have multiple first tee programs. I mean, we just recently started one here in Tallahassee, probably within the last 6 months that it finally started up here. But yeah, if it's a big city, they definitely have at least one and could have multiple.
Perfect. Okay. So we can have our listeners and their nieces and nephews and the children seek out a first tee program. And it's a great way to get your child, nephew, niece started in the game of golf and pair them with someone else that's in their same age group.
Right.
Coach, we talked over the past few days just via email about the SWAC. And again, if you've been around HBCUs long enough, you know that the SWAC and the MEAC typically are probably the two largest, most prominent conferences. What is golf like? What's competition like being part of the SWAC?
Look, we're recent to SWAC. Yep. So it was a big change from MEAC to SWAC. The competition, difference being, and this was crazy, when we were in MEAC, we had a university in that there was, we don't even know how they got there, but there was a university in the MEAC that a lot of people don't even know. They came in, the university's name was Georgia Regents University, which is Augusta State University, which is now Augusta University, right. Who is a 2-time national champion. They were playing in our conference, so it was really difficult to win that conference. We really weren't playing on the same grounds, really. I mean, what they were recruiting, what we recruited, completely different. Leaving the MEAC, coming to the SWAC, now the competition is much greater across the board. Okay. Really, I mean, every team has a chance. It's going to be who plays the best for 3 days, being that we're talking about it, we actually leave tomorrow for SWAC championship that starts on Monday. Okay. So we're excited. It's been a long journey to get here. It's been a long year, a lot of work, hard work, and so we're excited for it. But competition is definitely, I mean, it's really close. I mean, rankings are within, 3-4 spots. It's not spread out like it was in MEAC. You had, they were 200 spots ahead of everybody in the MEAC. So, again, it just comes down to who wants it more. And I really think, going back to what I was talking about as far as what we're recruiting, I think what's huge in the whole team, where we are looking for the best golfers, but when you have a close team, this is the time when it really matters because they're playing for each other. When they get out there and it starts to get hard, you can't put your head down. Understand if you're giving up on your team, not yourself. Absolutely. So this is the time that really shows, and we do a lot to, especially college golf is way different. It's a lot like tennis where we're individuals that are now playing as a team. They've never really played as a team. Right. And so, but we compete a lot too, because one of the things I believe is competition pushes you. So we're doing a lot of qualifying, a lot of playing. So here they are trying to beat each other, and then when they show up at a tournament, now they're playing for each other. So it's different, but we do a lot of things bonding wise to make sure that they are. And I think this team this year, compared to some of our others, are a lot closer than they have been in previous years. Which I'm hoping is what will allow us to finish it front.
Where's the SWAC championship at this year?
So it's at Flowood, Mississippi, which is just right outside Jackson, Mississippi, at a golf course called the Refuge. Yeah, so we're excited. We're ready. We were ready about a month ago to play. So
all right. Well, listen, we'll wish you well. We'll wish
I
you
appreciate
well.
it. I appreciate it.
Well, what makes, and you've been around golf for a very long time, and you've been around the HBCU golf experience for a very long time. When you think about talking to Tee to Green Golf podcast listeners, what would you tell them that makes the HBCU golf experience special and unique?
A couple things. I will say this, and I even see this at Jeff Champ's tournament, but we see it even. We have a few HBCU events every year that we do, and we start out the year at the Hall of Fame, which is in Atlanta, where we bring the top HBCU teams. It really is a small community. These kids, because there aren't enough black kids playing golf at the junior level, they all know each other. Because at the end of the day, they're playing in events. It might be 1, 2, maybe 3 that look like them playing. So they all know each other very well. The families know each other. So it's really it's a small community of golf, and HBCU golf is like that. We start the year off, and I said this. Yeah, we're trying to win. Of course, everybody is. But I love the fact that all these guys get a chance to kind of hang out and talk, and they do it in every tournament. It's like, I haven't seen you in a while, but look, we're still best friends. Yeah. And now we're going to go out and compete and talk trap, but when we get done, we're still best friends. So it really is a unique experience. You won't see that anywhere else. And like I said, I see it at Jeff's tournament, the same thing. They're out there practicing. I see them all. They, huddle around each other. They're talking, and it's like they're best friends. And look, they don't even live anywhere near each other, but it's such a small community. It's way different. And it's special to see as well.
Mm-hmm. In those relationships, they last well beyond the 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I have golfers from, even 5, 6 years ago that still communicate and still talk to a lot of the golfers they played against just years ago because of the relationship.
And I think that's one of the things that's unique about the sport.
Yeah.
I grew up playing basketball, and I can't tell you, at least that I can remember, where there was a time that I competed fiercely against someone, and just before we threw the ball up, we were huddled up and hugging and laugh. I can't tell you that's the case.
No, it's not. And in any other sport, I mean, football is not like that. And there's none. And like I said, it's really special to watch. I mean, especially when you see them, we first get there and everybody's, they're just ready to go to the range and get started, work, do all that. But, they're getting a chance to catch up, which is, it's special to see.
Okay, that's Houston. So again, I think for the Tee to Green Golf podcast community, let's make a commitment, whether it's FAMU, whether it's Miles College, whether it's Prairie View, whether it's A&T in North Carolina. Let's make a conscious effort starting in 2024 to show up at some of these HBCU related golf events. If you see one of the coaches, feel free to mention that, you heard them, Coach Preston, Coach Mike, Coach Smoot on the Tee to Green Golf podcast and introduce yourself as really a new spectator, a new follower of HBCU golf. And let's support these student athletes. Let's make a commitment to do that in 2024. Coach, when you think about the game of golf and how it's grown, and I almost maybe know what part of your answer may be here. How has the growing the game, including the junior programs that we've talked about, how has that affected recruiting for you? And that could be the few years you've been a head coach as well as the previous years as an assistant.
That's a good question. I mean, again, the junior programs get them started, right? And I could say this, we've had some a lot of first tee members come through FAMU to play here, and the one thing, I know it is a golf program, but it teaches, again, as they call them, the life skills. And I will tell you, those skills do go far for these young guys. And that being said, they're all, they're just good kids. And obviously they're talented, but I think they learn, a lot of those values. And shoot, golf will teach you a lot by itself. Mm-hmm. But again, these programs get them started, and they really do teach them, how to be not just golf, but how to be a better human being. And that being said, we've recruited a lot through, not necessarily straight through the first tee, but a lot of these kids that we are recruiting have come through the first tee, which you just kind of see that, they're all the same. And the way they carry themselves on the golf course, how they carry themselves, in life is very similar.
So what's good about that is you're getting not only talented golfers who have the potential to become better, but you're getting solid character human beings as well, which in many cases probably makes your job as a coach a little easier than it already is.
Way easier, right? Way easier. I'll say this: there's a program we recruited through them for years. It's out of Orlando. It's the Dr. Dorsey is the one who runs the program. It's the OMYGA, and I mean we've recruited a ton, and I've met him. He's one of the best people I've ever met in my life. Just he loves kids. He loves passing along his knowledge to them. He's out at Dubsdread Golf Course, one of the oldest golf courses in Orlando. They play and practice out there. They take good care of those kids. But it's a great junior program that we've been very successful with bringing their guys here. So
excellent.
Yeah.
We've talked so much about where the game has been, where the game is, and where we both believe the game is going. When you think about that, you think about where FAM's program is today. What excites you about the future of golf? And you can address it from the perspective of FAMU's program, but you can also talk about it from as broad as you want to address that.
And I'll in both. I see, I see because the game is growing and it is going to grow and it's going to look different. Yeah. Right now it's a small pool that we're recruiting from, right? And I think that pool is going to get bigger, and because it's going to get bigger, obviously it's going to make our job a little easier, but it's also going to make some of these universities look different, which I think is good. It's good for for everybody. So saying that, I think the direction is going. I've said this, with the pool that we have. I always felt like, look, we got to try to find the very best, because if we're going to be as diverse as we want to be, and we want to continue to do that, and I just believe in my heart that's the right thing. And so because of that, but I think at some point it's going to be like, you know what, I don't have to have everybody, because there's enough for other schools too, and that's the thing. I want, at the end of the day, I'm hoping by the time I'm done coaching here that you're going to see the HBCUs look different. HBCU golf teams look different. And I hope by growing the game the way we are, and the organizations like we talked about that are really, really doing a great job behind doors, that's going to be the case. And it doesn't look like it does right now, because there's a lot of them that don't. And yeah.
Well, and I like where your answer's leading us. I do think that, and I hope that golf is an instrument to increase the profile of HBCUs institutions. And so when you think about the student experience, as someone that went to Norfolk State, I tell people today it was the best experience of my life. And so as we get ever more diverse, whether it's Tennessee State, whether it's FAM, whether it's Miles, whether it's Norfolk State, I do think that it's going to expand the advocacy and support and attraction of students. And I think that's what you're talking about.
Correct.
Right. And ultimately, golf has a way of, like most sports, of bringing people from very different communities together and then bonding them in a way that otherwise may not have happened.
Right.
And that just ultimately and ideally makes the world a better place.
Yep. No question.
In your current and with your current team, is there anyone that you would say has the potential to play at the next level, whether that's mini tours, whether that's overseas, whether that's PGA or just below that? Anybody else that really has that potential right now?
Yeah, we have a young guy right now, and we actually have twins. They're from South Africa.
Okay.
And they're from South Africa, but dad is from the Bronx, so he brings that mentality. Yeah. I want to say older, but he's not. They're twins. The taller of the two, he's about 6'4", and he was about 6'2" when he got here. I don't know how he got 2 more inches, but he did. I could say that. You see this picture back here of Tiger. We had the opportunity to go visit him last semester.
Nice.
Probably, no doubt, greatest experience of these kids' lives, that to actually get to meet Tiger, and Tiger to go through and literally give them tips. But when Tiger saw this kid hit a ball, I watched Tiger go, wow, that kid's got some speed. So for Tiger to say that, and I've said that since he's been here, probably the most talented kid we've ever had at FAMU. When he hits a ball, it sounds different than anybody that plays at this level. But he struggled a little bit with injuries. He had some knee issues, and he's had some little nick and neck. This is the first year he's going to actually finish the year playing all year long. So we're hoping to keep him healthy for one more event. But Marcus Taylor something, and I really think he has a chance. I know he's graduating this year. Him and his brother both taking 20 hours to graduate, which is nuts, but they are, and playing college golf. But he's going to go back home. He wants to train back home. His goal is to hopefully make their national team, and then after that turn pro, eventually wanting to come back to the U.S. and play. But I think, man, the kid strikes the ball different. He really does. And we've worked a lot on managing his golf game and short game stuff, but when he puts it together, it's special. And then we have a couple, I think, that we'll get a chance to play the APGA.
Okay.
Patrick Jean-Pierre and Patrick Mwendapole. Okay. They're really, really hoping to try to work that way, go APGA to Korn Ferry or wherever else. But I think they can play. They can play at a high level. Again, I think they have a chance. They both work their butt off. They love golf. They eat, sleep, and drink it, and
nice.
That'll take you a long ways by itself.
Right.
So I do think they have a chance. Marcus, to me, is just different than anything. I only one other HBCU kid that I saw that was similar. There was a kid at Bethune-Cookman a few years ago who was from England. What was his last name? Stricker? No. I can't remember his last name, but Ryan, I can't remember Ryan's last name. The same way, like when he struck the ball, I was like, we don't have anybody that does that. Mm-hmm. That's different. And so, again, I'm rooting for the kid. He's a great kid, very soft-spoken. I wish he was a little more arrogant, but he just doesn't have that in him. He's just a great kid.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our eye on him. We'll connect with you on that, and certainly do our little part to celebrate him. I mean, he's got a few routes, right? He could do the sunshine
Correct.
There in Africa.
Right. And I think that's again, he really wants to play for their national team. That's a goal. Yeah. I think he has a really good chance. But then after that, like you said, he'll probably do some sunshine events while he's there, but he really, really wants to play on tour.
Good for you, Coach. Congratulations. The final question that I have for you today, and I ask this of all of our guests, is how can the Tee to Green Golf Podcast and our community support FAMU Golf?
Well, I mean, look, you kind of said it earlier. Golf is becoming more attractive, right? It's when I was coming up, you couldn't wear the collared shirt. People make fun of you, right? That's not the case anymore.
Right.
You can do that. But I say this too. I also teach the golf class here on campus, and one of the questions I asked the class, how many of y'all knew we had a golf team? And I can tell you 10 years ago, it was probably 20% of the class. Now it's 80 or 90 because we're starting to get it out there that, hey, and success helps that. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
But they're starting to see it, and obviously, but I think the big is just, obviously, it's just the recognition, right? The more that people recognize golf in general, and that universities and HBCUs have golf teams, the more, that's going to bring attention to us and to the universities. So I think more than anything, FAMU brand is strong. People know what that rattler is. Mm-hmm. But the golf brand isn't strong, right? And I think if we can, attach that rattler to golf a little more and just get it out there, even like I said, getting people to come out and support these kids when they're playing, you just don't see a lot of spectators at tournaments, especially HBCU events. So it'd be great to have, even if it is an alum, like you said, I mean, whether it's, the people listening to this, come out and support the kids, because that's the big. I mean, that's why we do what we do. It's not. I love my job. I love what I do, but I love my guys, and they come first. And everything that decisions I make is, how can I better them? How can I, what is going to make them a better human being, more than anything, but even a better golfer. But I think the big is just getting it out there so people realize that HBCU golf is here and we're relevant. And so, I think that would be the best way for FAMU golf, really HBCU golf. I wouldn't call it FAMU golf, HBCU golf. And look, we got programs that are disappearing, and they're disappearing because universities don't have money to continue. It's not because they don't want to. The money isn't there, but fortunately we have some coming back as well. Jackson State's coming back. Southern came back this year. I've heard Grambling State's talking about bringing theirs back. So we have some coming back, but we're also losing some. And so, again, making sure that we get it out there so people know, so they can support. If you got people supporting programs, it's hard to get rid of them.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, you all have a door open here, and the Tee to Green Golf podcast community extends an open door. And so we'll always do our part to support you and the broader HBCU golf community. Thank you for your time this afternoon. The best of luck to you and the Rattlers as you head to Mississippi and compete for the SWAC championship. And as we always say, hit it straight from Tee to Green. We are out.